everybody, welcome back. Today we are talking about our paper beads, and we're going to start off by making a paper bead tool that looks something like this. We're going to talk about the centerpiece, which I'm going to show you looks a little bit different on each one of mine depending on how well of a roll I did, and then also the handle itself. The handle will then be filled. This one's filled with hot glue. This one is filled with cotton and glue. And notice that that's a hard top. This one's filled with paper and glue. So I'll show you all of those options. You should have received in your kit a cotter pin, one large piece of paper, and one narrower piece of paper. Now these are not the bead strips. These are the tool strips that you receive. And then we're also going to be using the glue and probably the paintbrush. Depending on how you want to fill the top of your tool, either hot glue or paper strips. I've got some that are just cut into thin pieces, and then I've also got some that are, if I can pick these up, just little pieces, just chopped up paper, or typical cotton ball. The first thing we're going to do is create a base by rolling paper around the cotter pin just at the head of this opening here. So the first thing we want to do in this case is actually slide the paper into the cotter pin. And sometimes it's a little too tight, so I'm just going to stick a fingernail in there, get it started. And then we're going to slide that paper until it gets to the bottom of that head. Okay, so now that we have the paper in the base, I'm going to slide it up until it's just right at the edge, or as close to the edge as we can get. It's okay if it's inside the cotter pin a little bit. Double check. Make sure that we are pretty close to the head of that. It does not have to be exact either way. And then we're going to go ahead and roll it just once or twice, and then unroll it so you can see how it's creating that curl. Now you're rolling with your beads, with this, with anything. You can either roll forward towards you, or you can roll away from you. Either way, it's going to work. Okay, so what we want to do is on our first roll, as soon as we are able to make contact from paper to paper, we want to add just a little drop of glue. And I like to use my brush to kind of spread it around, but you will see eventually I'll just get lazy and start using my fingers. I kind of like to peel glue off my hands when I'm done playing. And then we're just going to start rolling. Now our goal at this point is to kind of practice a little bit with trying to keep the edge straight. Again, it's not important to be perfect, but it just depends on what you like. And again, I'm just going to show you real quick. Definitely was not a perfect roll. And again, the thinner and lighter you can get that coat of glue, the tackier it will be. And additionally, if we add a little bit of tackiness to the other side, I'm going to let that sit for a second and get a little more tacky. Just wait for a second. There we go. I touched it and it felt almost dry, but it was sticky. Okay, then I'm going to finish it off, and then I'm going to actually hold it here for a few seconds, pressing on it. Make sure it's a good tight stick. There we go. That's the beginning. Okay, so now we're gonna add the next part. For our next piece, we want the larger piece of paper, and you can see mine is double-sided, and I want this side to be my handle. So what we're ultimately going to do is we're going to be covering up the head of this, and we're going to make a handle to make it really easy to hold on to and twist and turn. And so usually we like that to be even, so that it's even with the end of your filler piece. But you can also be, if you want a piece of that to show, you can definitely start somewhere else. The ultimate goal is, again, making a handle, and you're going to end up with this hollow space inside, and that's what we are going to fill to make it solid. Okay, so to start this, I'm going to start with always too much, just a little bit of glue. I'm actually going to take some of that off because that's too much. I just want a little tackiness there. There we go. And then I want this to be my handle design rather than this. Although it would be kind of cool, it would end up being, that would be my handle, but I still want this. Okay, so we start by just sticking this edge to edge. And we're gonna roll it around. This time I'm gonna roll away from me. And this is the most difficult part, is making sure that you get a tight roll, your very first roll. And again, we're gonna go ahead and get some tackiness on here. Okay, and again at the end we want to do a little bit more glue. Obviously not as much as I keep squirting out. Let it get a little tacky. That's too much. Finish up our roll and hold it tight. You can see where I went off here. Okay, once you've got that glued and it's holding nice and tight, that's when we're ready to stuff the end. Okay, so a super fun part of stuffing the end is we're going to start by just squirting a little glue down in there. I don't want to fill it because I don't want it to start leaking through, but I'm okay with it getting down into those grooves a little bit. So I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of glue in there. That I usually do, 1 or 2 drops. That looks like it was probably maybe 3 or 4 drops. Doesn't seem to be oozing out, so I think I'm okay. So I got a little glue in there, and I'm just gonna wait for a second and let it kind of soak down in and get a little tacky. And then I'm gonna do it again, but I'm gonna do right on the edges inside, and then I'm going to swirl it around so I'm getting glue as much on the inside edges as I possibly can, as much glue. And this is where you can stuff it. Again, you can use paper strips, cotton balls, dryer lint, pieces of fabric, string, anything that will, anything that will absorb the glue and that you can pack in tight. So I'm using my dowel, but you can use the end of your paintbrush. You can use anything. Okay, so I'm just going to smooth that out. There we go. And there's our tool.